The world is a strange planet, made of strange people, strange places, and strange events. These are the lists that expose the truth about the strangest things that happen here, on Earth, the strangest planet in the world. These are Miklists. Innocuous as they may seem, cruciferous vegetables as a whole have for years been rumored to have both a culinary and nutritional dark side. Most popular cruciferous vegetables like kales, cabbages, Brussels sprouts, broccolis, cauliflowers, broccoflowers, bok choys, turnips, rutabagas, mustards, arugulas, wasabis, and radishes, including but not limited to standard and horse, do not occur in nature and are the direct results of generations of genetic manipulation and selective breeding by human beings. The so-called cruciferous cultivar KINGPIN cabbage was likely domesticated somewhere in Europe before the 1st century BCE, and, according to multiple Wikipedias, became a prominent part of European cuisine by the time of the Middle Ages. The 2018 total world production of cabbage and other brassicas was 69 million metric tons, roughly equivalent to 69.69 American tons, as there are approximately 1.1 tons in 1 ton, or 0.9 tons in 1 ton. 48% of all cabbage resources, or nearly a full 50%, is consumed by the country of China, with one major world power openly embracing the potential marvels of cabbage-based nutrition, fuels, weaponry, and technological advancement. It is a wonder, and possibly a suspicion, that any government at all might consider the banishment of one of nature's most natural man-made miracles. 5 reasons the US government almost banned cabbage. Number 5. The fall of Roman cultivation. Round-headed cabbages, more akin to the ones we consume today, did not appear until the 14th century in England, previously having a more leafy green, kale-like appearance. Pliny the Elder, a Roman historian who may or may not have insisted a slave kill him because he was too hot, described 7 distinct varieties of cabbages in his works during the 1st century, noting that the cabbages of Pompeii were, quote, taller than other species, and specifically called them out for not standing up well to the cold, which seems like an irony in retrospect, if that particular tale is indeed true. Roman traditionalist Cato, also known as the Elder, a nickname apparently popular at the time, though rarely it seems with the ladies, distinguished only 3 varieties of cabbage, but gave detailed directions for its medicinal use, extending all the way into the cabbage consumer's urine, with which babies should be rinsed, he said, because for, health stuff. Alleged golden perversions aside, the possibility that the over-cultivation and consumption of cruciferous cultivars led to the eventual downfall of the empire popularly known as the First America was almost enough to get them banned from America, unpopularly referred to as the Second America. Number 4. Satanic cabbage panic. The 1980s and into the early 1990s was a terrifying time to be a parent, as nearly every child nationwide flocked to become part of a satanic cabal of ritualistically abusive cannibals, as explained by trusted journalists and newscasters everywhere. At the core of this unexpected behavior, the reviled tabletop dice-rolling role-playing experience Cabbage and Dragons, at the time in its 2.45th edition. It should be noted that C&D, as it was known within the community, was in no way related to the Gary Gygax created Dungeons and Dragons, other than that it is played on a table, with dice and stuff, and that the sharp scent of sulfur frequently emanates from players, but for likely different reasons. Frequently confused for its unrelated cousin, D&D earned much unearned condemnation from the media and parental persons based on this unassociated association, and struggled for years to overcome lost roles played. C&D focused more specifically on the gardening aspect of role-playing, successfully combining elements of combat and crop rotation in an unending struggle to please Crucifer, the devil's vegan half-brother, and pledge allegiance to the dark side of the culinary arts. The United States government took initial efforts to ban the game from store shelves, but realized it could do little to stop the surge of copycat or counterfeit C&D literature that would appear on the black market as a result, seeking to fill the cultural vacuum left by the game's disappearance. Instead, in 1992, emergency legislation was introduced that would remove cabbages themselves from the market and replace them with overlarge onions produced by the Uncle Wally's Corporation through unspecified chemical means. Interest in the subject began to wane after investigations into over 12,000 cases proved that the entire concept was the result of human beings just being morons like they generally were, and the bill lost funding before being passed. The crucifer craze would once again become a subject of interest to additional morons during the presidency of twice-impeached Florida man, Donald Trump. Number 3. FLABBAGES. The introduction of flammable or incendiary cabbages into infantry arsenals during World War II was intended to solve two feared shortages simultaneously: ration reserves and ammunition supply. There isn't much public-facing information publicly available to the public on the top-secret project, but what data we do have was accidentally uncovered via the Freedom of Information Act by PETA, whose members had successfully petitioned the US government for any and all documentation relating to the dropping of combustible dolphins over Laos and Cambodia during the Vietnam War. The plan ultimately came to an unsuccessful end on the 17th of March 1942 during a St. Patrick's Day corned beef feed for troops stationed on and around the island of Caledonia in the South Pacific Theater. A massive explosion, the cause of which has never been satisfactorily explained in detail, resulted in the loss of 68 lives and most of the experimental flabbage reserves in the South Pacific, and no additional resources were assigned to rebuild stock. The banning of the flabbage was only step one in an eventual all-out assault on the cabbage as a whole, as we shall see later in this list. Number 2. The Montauk Point Incident. Montauk Point Light, the Montauk Point Lighthouse adjacent to the Montauk Point State Park on Long Island, was the host of several bizarre and unexplained phenomena on the night of October 28, 1943. According to supposed witnesses, a, quote, green, fog-like haze gathered near the base of the lighthouse just after dusk, arousing the suspicions of the lighthouse's unnamed keepers and the 3 friends that were visiting them there that evening. As large heads of cabbage began manifesting within the greenish glowing vapors, the onlookers were perplexed, the condition only made worse by the appearance of a single Philadelphia cheesesteak sandwich that hovered momentarily in midair before traveling backward 10 minutes in time and either vanishing completely or becoming invisible. Initial confusion turned to horror, however, as a number of the vegetables began to sprout insectoid legs or bat-like wings and to scuttle forth, fangs shining in the odd green glow. Retreating into the lighthouse itself, the unnamed keeper and guests were eventually able to secure a defensible position within the rounded kitchen using a shotgun and a rusted machete, items that for some reason seem to be readily available in most Eldritch horror scenarios. Emerging at dawn's first light, the disheveled party could find no physical evidence that the nightmare cabbage creatures had actually paid them a visit the previous night, though the persistent odor of hot beef and cheese whiz is said to linger to this day. Number 1. Cabbages are gross. According to a recent survey, many people dislike cabbages,